To go back in time a little bit, what was your time like in the Century Wrestling Alliance?
Wow, that's where I started. That's where it all started with Tony Rumble. I had mentioned the promoter who had bought me my tuxedo a year before I started with Tony. His name was Gordon Scazzari, and he had run one show. He had run a couple of shows, one somewhere in Jersey and one here in Lowell at the Lowell Auditorium in December of '91 that I went to as a fan sitting in the front row, and ended up doing commentary for that show that I went to in Lowell. Did commentary with Tony Rumble, who was another like TV favorite of mine from the ICW days and early ECW Eastern Championship Wrestling days. And it was weird. I was sitting in a studio in Maine with the Boston Bad Boy calling a show and seeing myself in the front row for every match that I was calling. It was kind of mind blowing. But that Gordon, who's long since passed away, and was really instrumental and helped me get into the business and meeting Tony. Gordon was going to run all these shows, and supposedly I had to buy the tuxedo because we were going to do a tour of Puerto Rico with the Rock and Roll Express. And I'm like, oh, okay, where do I sign? It's great. Okay. And Gordon never ran that show in Puerto Rico with the Rock and Roll Express. But Tony and I kept in touch. And then when Tony started running Century Wrestling Alliance up here in New England, he had reached out to me and was like, hey, you want to be my ring announcer? I was like, well, I've got the tuxedo. I might as well. Let's do it. And never asked what he was paying me. I just didn't care. I said, where do I have to be? It was October 23rd, 1993, Wakefield, Massachusetts, Wakefield High School. I grew up in Reading, Massachusetts. I could have gotten there blindfolded if I had to. I just, that was my stomping grounds. And there were 1,500 people there that night. It was like a sold show. It was like a fundraiser for like football or baseball or something. And I'm like, wow, this independent wrestling's great. Boy, did I learn quickly. Not every show has 1,500 people. But I mean, my mom, my mom was there, God rest her soul. My brother was there. My nephew, who just got married last year, was there as this little baby. The Iron Sheik was on the show, and I have a picture of him holding my little nephew, who like, well, I want to hold the baby. I'm like, okay, Sheiky, whatever you want, hold the baby. I have so many great memories because I'm still friends with people that I worked with in Century Wrestling Alliance, from 1993 until Tony passed away in '99. I mean, I've dear friends of mine that I still talk to regularly in this business that I met from there. And I owe everything that I've accomplished in this career. I don't know. I feel weird calling it a career when it's like a side hustle for me, but I have nothing but fond memories for the Century Wrestling Alliance. And I owe everything to Tony. And I've said that publicly more than once. And sometimes I get a little emotional because I cried like a baby when I found out that Tony passed away. November 13th, 1999. I will never, ever forget it. That man gave me an opportunity, didn't know me from Adam, didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and just gave me a chance, and I never looked back. So yeah, nothing but fond memories there. I'm in their Hall of Fame. That's one of my plaques back there. And they morphed into NWA New England. Imagine super fan like me, and I think it was 97, we became part of the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm like, wait a minute, the oldest governing, sanctioning body of professional wrestling, I work for them now? Didn't matter in my pay at the end of the day, but I was working for the NWA.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a pretty sweet thing for somebody like me, and for Tony to take that chance and put his money into whatever was involved with being part of the National Wrestling Alliance. It's just awesome. But yeah, nothing but fun memories from the beginning, those first 6 years of my career.